Welcome to my world, bitch. The power of Christ compels you, the power of Christ compels you.
Welcome to this bonus episode of the Supernatural Occurrence Studies podcast.
So studiously paranormal.
My name is Jason Nhyte, host of the show, and with me as always is who?
Oscar Spector, of course.
Producer extraordinaire and podcast co-host. Wow, this is crazy. 2 episodes like within 2 weeks of each other, almost.
It's almost like we're back to our regular schedule.
Oh my God,
the
bite your
older days.
tongue. I don't think I could handle it.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know if I could either.
Yeah, this is going to be something different for us, a movie review episode.
That's right. A bonus, if you will.
Yes. So we're just coming off of the Rodney Alcala episode, the dating game killer episode. Mm-hmm. And we mentioned in the last episode, Rodney Alcala, that there was this new movie coming out that was kind of reigniting this interest in this horrible, horrible case of the dating game killer. And we said that if we see the movie, we'll try to do a quick review of the movie for the show. I believe we alluded to that.
Yes, we did actually say those words. Mm-hmm.
Yes, good. Mm-hmm.
I listened to the episode today, and we did say that.
Nice. So we would like to review The Woman of the Hour by Anna Kendrick.
Yes.
Her directorial debut. This is going to be a spoiler episode.
Right, we're going to spoil the movie from the get-go. Once we start talking about it, expect to be spoiled of what happens in the movie. Obviously, what happens in real life also, but that was already spoiled in our last episode. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there's no spoilers for real life. Just read a book or whatever. Articles.
Right. You basically know how this ends. So that's what we're going to talk about, Woman of the Hour. It was I really enjoyed the movie. Now, I'm a little nervous because I'm not a movie review guy. Oscar, that is 100% your realm. You actually have your own movie review podcast.
Yeah, and I have quite a few credentials, too, to go along with them.
Yeah, what's the name of that podcast again?
Oh, it's called Another Movie Podcast.
Another Movie Podcast.
Yeah, because there's so many of them. So this is just another movie podcast. That's the shtick there.
And how long have you been producing that podcast?
Oh, that podcast is about, how old is ours? It's like a little younger than ours.
I think ours is going
6 now?
6
More.
or 7.
So mine's probably 5 or 6.
6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
So you've been doing it for a very
and
long
longer
time.
than that, too, because I had an older show from before our time here. Another movie review podcast before that. And so I've been doing it for 10 years now.
10 years, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you got some chops. So this is right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Me, it's a little awkward. I just kind of took notes as I was watching the movie. I did a little bit additional research, basically about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
you wouldn't be you otherwise.
I guess.
I think I texted that to you when you told me I have these X amount of pages of notes. I'm like, you wouldn't be you otherwise. Like, I would think you're an alien if you didn't have notes. Pages of notes.
Yes, that is. I am OCD that way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any other way to behave, unfortunately.
Correct.
It drives my wife crazy on a number of levels. So I keep saying so. I hate that.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm nervous.
It's not that. It's only a little uncharted territory for you. People who have listened to our show, even vivaciously, a lot of it. You hear a lot of our outtakes contain a lot of little reviews of stuff we talk about, movies and shows that we watch on our daily lives. So you are more adept to do this than you think you are.
Well, let's see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
So this is a bonus, a little gift for the holiday month of December. There actually may be another gift coming down the line.
I was about to say.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But you know me, I love Christmas. So there might be another little gift coming down the pike. But speaking of gifts, if you want to support the podcast and give some awesome radical gifts for Christmas.
Radical.
Go to chicagoghostpodcast.com and click on the merch link. We have a brand new merch store up and fully functional with all new wicked designs, promoting a podcast.
Radical, not wicked?
Wicked and radical. I don't know why I said radical.
It's okay. I'm just making fun of you.
And T-shirts, hoodies, stickers, whiskey glasses. We have another bottle of whiskey here to open too before we get going.
That's right.
And of course, shipping is free anywhere in the United States as long as you spend $25 or more. That's ChicagoGhostPodcast.com. Click on the merch link and give your friends and loved ones some awesome Supernatural Occurrence Studies podcast merch this Christmas season.
That's right. An additional little caveat to that is that it is a unique gift. This is a brand new thing we're doing, or we're restarting. So this will be a unique gift. What if you get this for anyone you know? No one else has this. Take advantage now that it is a brand new item for you to take advantage of, to buy.
Yep. And free shipping. You can't.
Oh, yeah. No,
can't beat that.
Honestly, that's half the reason I even shop online is to try to get free shipping. Otherwise, I won't do it. Sometimes I won't even buy something if I have to pay for shipping, honestly.
Exactly.
So I get that.
All right. Well, we mentioned whiskey glasses as our merch. We do have a bottle of whiskey here that I would like to open and try. See what you think.
Is it a rye?
It is a rye.
You fucking
It
asshole.
is a straight rye
It's like
whiskey.
you're trying to fuck me,
So we know it's going to be a little bit spicy. It's going to be a little bit hot, most likely. But this is Fiddler Toasted. This is 6
Fiddler,
years
please.
aged, double barrel cask strength. Toast, medium toast, char level 3. This is 54.7 proof. So this is a nice and it's by AWS Distillery, and I picked this up in Georgia when we were traveling south. I stopped at a liquor store.
Was it on your mind?
Georgia, yes, it was. This whiskey bottle's been on my mind, let me tell you. So I had to turn on my phone lights.
Half the TV shows in America are filmed in Georgia.
Yeah, they are, right? Walking Dead. That's the first.
Yeah,
one
that's
that
totally
came.
half of them, man.
So this is, the color that's a wonderful caramely color.
Yeah. I do like the color. It looks a little runnier than I would expect it, but we'll see.
Well, we'll see how that finishes,
Right,
if it lasts or not. So I'm popping this now.
For some reason, I like booze or bourbon, or in this case, rye.
Rye whiskey.
That looks a syrupy, like a syrupy. Ooh, that's a good sound. Like a syrupy kind of texture. I love that. I don't know why I like that as a body and as a look, but I like that. Trying to get that ASMR bit in here. We should just do ASMR, dude. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, low key looks like some sort of blood or something.
Give it a swish. Let's pour this out. I just dripped some on my lap.
Lick your lap, bitch.
Yeah. Let's see. For what, 109 something proof? It's easy on the nose.
I don't know about that, but it's not as hard as I thought it would be.
Do you smell vanilla?
I don't know. I smell booze.
I 100% smell vanilla. We didn't cheers, you animal. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Yeah, it'll keep me warm. Yeah.
Vanilla, for sure. Caramel. Oak.
Oh, yeah,
Lot of
tree.
oak.
I totally taste tree.
A lot of oak.
Yeah. I don't know shit at what it's not.
And hold on.
My palate is at 0.
Take another sip and think of eating a fresh raspberry.
I can't think of a raspberry.
Seriously. Vanilla, caramel, raspberry. Pretty heavy oak. That's wonderful. That's great. I like it.
I feel it going down, like warming it.
Am I crazy with what I'm tasting?
I think you are, but no, I don't think you're crazy. I just have no taste. Like I have no buds at all.
I completely
I'm so
understand.
bad at this.
I'm still learning. I'm trying to pick up more.
I don't know how you can learn this. This is how off my wheel it is. Off my something.
Yeah. I swear I taste raspberry.
I mean, I like that it's keeping me warm. I don't love rye, but it's I'll work it. I'll drink it.
See, I'm a big fan of rye.
I know.
Anyway,
To my
all
own
right.
detriment.
So that's my Fiddler Toasted I hope you like it.
Yeah.
Listeners, I would highly recommend it. Oscar, could we take a break and then come back and talk about this film and spoil this film?
Yes, let's do that.
Listeners, welcome back to the show. Well, the lights are turned down low, the ceremonial candle is lit, and the fiddler toasted is flowing.
Wow.
Let's start this spoiler show. I do want to mention, I should have mentioned this at the top of the show, Oscar.
What?
That our recording space, and I'm doing these dramatic hand effects, the space.
He's basically doing jazz hands, folks.
Jazz hands. All this space is different. So I don't know if there's going to be some echoes. My hot water heater dumped 2 weeks ago, and the shutoff valve for the incoming water, the hot water tank, was rusted open.
Yikes.
So that fucking water was running for, I don't know, well over an hour down here in
and
my
just
basement.
flooding it.
Flooded the shit out of my basement. So all the carpet is gone, paneling is off the walls. You know, there's a lot of, in other words, reflecting surfaces.
Right.
Reverberating surfaces? I don't know what's the word. But
I like that.
I don't know if this is going to sound a little bit different. Even our table's different. The cloths I use to cover everything to dampen any echo, I don't even know where the fuck they are. The people who came and cleaned up, moved everything. All the closets have no doors.
Yeah.
My laundry room, we're going to hear the hot water tank. We might hear the furnace. So apologies in advance, but we're making do with what we have.
Yep. Gotta do what we got to do.
I just wanted to get that out of the way. That's my OCD. I'm always chasing the dragon, Oscar, and my heroine is the perfect sound.
You have no idea, folks, what I have to do with.
I'm like, yeah, I do. I put you through hell. I apologize.
No, you're fine. You're good.
I'm like Johnny Depp in From Hell, chasing that dragon in the opium den. In my dragon.
I just started reading the graphic novel.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
that
there was
inspired.
one. Oh.
I think it was inspired by the movie or vice versa. I'm not sure.
Interesting. Great movie.
Oh, I love that
really
movie.
like that movie.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I think it still holds up. I'm not sure, though. It's been a while. I did recently rewatch another Johnny Depp movie that also holds up. The book one.
Secret Window?
The Ninth Gate.
Ninth Gate. Oh, Secret Window.
That's another book one. You're right. And also Johnny Depp. You're not wrong.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you technically nailed it because he did two movies where he's like a writer or something. But in The Ninth Gate, he's not a writer. He's a book investigator. And he's like a piece of shit. And he's looking for the devil's book written by Satan himself.
You know what? I think I do remember liking that movie.
That movie slays. It's really fun.
Dope.
Even though it's made by a creeper.
And Johnny
Polanski.
That was Polanski?
Yeah, it was a Polanski movie.
Wow.
100%. Why do you think Johnny Depp is in it? Johnny Depp lives in France. Where he would be at. I'm saying where he's okay to be.
Very interesting. Now I have to watch it again with Roman Polanski.
And there's a little connection to Roman Polanski and this movie we're going to talk about.
Yes, there is.
So I kind of turned it there.
Yes, there is. You did. Bringing it back.
Bringing it back.
Because I fell off the rails.
In the biz. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm nervous. All right. So, again, this is your wheelhouse. What I did, I watched the movie, I jotted some notes, and then I took all those notes, I did some research, and I kind of put them into three different categories.
Okay.
The first category for me was general thoughts / facts.
Okay.
Then it's the dating game, because that's what this is about, the dating game killer. So there's a lot going on with the dating game scenes in this film. And then the victims portrayed, because that's not true to life, right? So I guess, so that's how I broke it down.
Okay. And that's roughly the order you want to talk about?
Yeah, whatever.
No, that works for me.
I'm fine. Either way, you could lead the charge. This is your kind of thing.
Okay.
But again, spoilers. How about did you like the movie? That's
definitely the first question I was going to say. Like, what are your first impressions of the movie? That's usually how I start these.
Okay.
Because hopefully the intention of that kind of question is that it opens up avenues to talk about details that we want to talk about. Like, that's how conversations start. Because I kind of do it organically. I don't really write notes. I have some, but, my thoughts on this movie, first impressions, and really overall standing impressions is I've seen it twice now. Woman of the Hour is an excellent film. I love this movie. I was so surprised by how much I love this movie. Like beyond the fact that it's a directorial debut of someone, not just an actress that's famous, but anyone, you know, the fact that it's a directorial debut, and also it's a genre that's usually mired in so much shit. Like usually this genre sucks, you know, true life depictions of serial killers are usually terrible. And if you think of, oh, what about Hannibal Lecter? That's a fake. That's all fictional. Like that's not a real serial killer that's trying to depict. And a movie like Zodiac are far and few between, like a good one.
Good movie.
I mean, they're far and few between. There's not that many good ones. People can't break, Hollywood cannot break into a good rhythm with a serial killer horror movie or a biography, a true life one.
There you go.
Right, a true life, my bad. A biography or a biopic or whatever, period piece. This one nails it. Nails it by understanding the core fundamental nature of serial killing, at least this particular serial killer, and goes into not just the killer, but the victims, and just as importantly, one particular almost victim, and makes those like the headliners. And I think it works. This movie really works. What did you think of the movie?
Nice. Well, I mean, first of all, well said. I mean, this is why you do movie reviews. Listeners, definitely check out Another Movie Podcast and support Oscar.
Although there are two idiots that co-host that with me. Yes. I'm kidding.
Because he just has phenomenal insight on films. So I as well, I love the movie. I really enjoyed this movie as a thriller, as a quasi-true crime.
Yeah.
And I say quasi because it's not all factual.
Right.
There's a lot of made-up stuff as well. However, you know, I really tried to watch the movie without Anna Kendrick tinged glasses because we talked about this on the last show. Mm-hmm. I love Anna Kendrick.
Yes, you have a hard-on for her.
Yes, that is my...
Is it because you're the same height as her? She might be a little shorter still, I think.
Oh, imagine that. I didn't know there could be. You know, so she's my celebrity freebie. Right. My wife is well aware of this. She busts my balls all the time. So I tried not to think of Annie Kendi. That's what I call it.
That's so funny.
Annie Kendi making this movie. So besides all that, I thought it was very well done. It kept you at the edge of your seat. It really made you feel for this character that Anna Kendrick portrayed, Cheryl Bradshaw. Really made you feel for her. You were rooting for her. When she flipped scripts, which we'll get into, you're like, fuck yeah, girl, you know, throw that shit on its head. It was you. I
was so happy that she nailed this. Like, I'm not a big Anna Kendrick fan like you. Like, I like Pitch Perfect, sure, they're fine. I like, Scott Pilgrim, but she's a bit character. Yeah. Which is a great movie for me, but it's not like a big thing for her. I can't think of others, but there's others. And
I think Into the Woods is the one that got me into
Never
her.
saw that.
Yeah.
Never. I haven't seen it yet. Anyway, it's because I hate Rob Marshall, but that's my opinion. Anyway, and I was so happy she nailed it. I was like, dude, girl. I was like, I was doing this and like fist bumping nothing, you know, just too happy because I was like, this is so good.
I got to tell you,
surprisingly good.
I haven't seen a bad review. Have you?
No, but I haven't been looking for them either. But
okay, yeah. When it first came out, because we're recording this maybe a month since I've seen the film.
It's been about a month since it released,
and that was right when it came out.
Change. Yeah,
because we finished recording the Alcala episode the same week that
yes, that's right.
Woman of the Hour is going to come out, but we had to get together and record. So it's been a while for me. When it was first released back in October.
It was October 18th.
Good. You're right.
I listened to the episode today, so yeah.
Good.
I remember.
October 18th. So around that time, I was looking for reviews, looking at what people were saying. No one was bad. Now, granted, I haven't looked since, a month and a half later. So maybe that's changed, but what I saw...
Usually, if I'm not sure of my opinion on a movie, or like I feel like there's things in it that maybe I can glean from a review or other reviewers or people in general online, I do look for it. But in this one, I was so sure I did not need any other opinions. I didn't even need opinions to strengthen what I already thought about it. That's how sure I was about this movie. I didn't look up any reviews.
Wow, that tells you a lot about the film.
And that's pretty rare, honestly, for a movie. That happens maybe a few times a year, but this is one of those.
Okay, this is good. Okay, I look where this is going already. This is awesome. Okay.
Can I talk about one of my favorite things about this movie?
Please.
Like, already, it's the title. I love that it's not called The Dating Game Killer.
That's what I named our episode.
No, I know. No, well, yeah. No, yeah, you're good there. But Woman of the Hour it completely takes the power away from that asshole and makes it not about him.
I like that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Taking the power away from this asshole.
A lot of this movie is devoted to showing victims and also what it could look like to take away that power. And then one particular scene in the movie that we're going to talk about. Yeah. And it works beautifully. That title really sells it.
I've never even made that connection.
Instead of the title being the guy, the title has a woman in the title, Woman of the Hour. It's not Killer of Women or the Dating Game Killer, which it's the typical title you would go for.
That's very insightful. I didn't even think about the title of the movie. Yeah. Didn't even think to put my mind into figuring out why she would call it that, for example. Never even occurred to me to do that. So that's great.
It does sound like a weird title when you think of like, oh, is this about the dating game killer? How is it?
About this rotten fuck that we covered, killing all these people. No, it's taking away his power. I think that she did that in a few ways. I mean, the guy who played, and I have his name.
I hope so, because I don't have it
later down in my notes.
Good.
The guy who played Rodney Alcala. Now, we know from last episode that he was 1970s handsome.
Yeah.
That's what disarmed a lot of these women, is that he was good looking for the time.
Yeah.
Now he's a fucking goofball, but back then he was...
I mean, looks can get you a long way, even today still, of course.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So to make the character be sort of this overweight... I want to say I remember his face having almost acne in areas.
Yeah, I think a couple scenes, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Long, greasy hair, not fit.
No, all he did was drive around the country. He wasn't like running or exercising or whatever,
Right.
Yeah. I'm not saying he was a schlub, but he was almost a schlub.
You mean in real life?
No, and I mean,
In the movie.
In the movie,
definite schlub.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good name. He's like a schlub in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. But he's not this kind of muscular, athletic, handsome
man. Definitely not that.
Definitely taking away his charm, charisma, power. So that was great. Yeah.
But also, like, this movie also does highlight his charm, how he weasels into scenarios. And it does a good job of kind of showing both of those things. Ultimately, what it's really showing, this movie, is showing a man, Rodney Alcala, being the extreme version of what every woman on the planet fears. And has had to deal with every woman you'll ever meet, everyone, your mom, your aunt, your girlfriend, your wife, your sister, has and will have, not like dangerous things like this, but will have incidents that will be akin to what this movie's showing you. Like, this movie doesn't just show the extreme version of what a man can do in Rodney Alcala, which is the main character, of course, but it also shows, the movie has many instances of little microaggressions, microinfractions, things that happen on a daily basis, from the host touching her hair when unprompted in the dressing room and early on in the movie.
Good call.
From the way he dismisses and ignores her answers, doesn't listen to her because he doesn't give a shit about what she has to say. That's just the host itself. And there's many other instances this movie shows. Some of them are shown out of a place of ignorance. Some of them are shown men trying to do something good, not knowing that they're doing something bad. And most of them are just ignorant assholes. They're just assholes. And this is the thing, is showing you that every woman goes through this. Every woman has had to deal with hassle in some fashion. Obviously, some extremes. And Rodney Alcala being like the worst kind.
Right. Mm-hmm. The worst possible scenario.
Right. That's the worst possible scenario. That's he's the reason why women choose the bear.
Choose the bear.
Oh, so you don't go online much.
No.
There was this thing earlier in the year where people were saying, like, to women, there was like a question, ladies, if you were stuck in the woods, would you rather be stuck in the woods with a man or with a bear? And every woman online was saying the bear, because the man will molest me or rape me.
Holy shit.
And that's the point.
That is sad. That's a sad state of the world.
Right. But in many ways, Rodney Alcala is both the bear and the man. He's that extreme, because he is that extreme. He's a rapist and a murderer. So, yeah. But he's the worst case scenario. But that's the point, is that they have to think of that. And the movie highlights those things. Yeah.
Well said. Again, well said.
Thank you.
No comeback. That was great. Did you know? We both obviously really enjoyed this film.
Totally.
For a lot of the same reasons. Okay. I guess a little factoid.
Yeah, please hit me.
Anna Kendrick hasn't made any money from this film. She did an interview on October 25th on a podcast. I'm not going to say the name. She donated competition, right? Fuck. She donated all the proceeds, at least up until that point, to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. In other words, RAIN, and the National Center for Victims of Crime.
That's good to hear. That's
even
great.
More. I put her up in even a higher pedestal now.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Anna
I'm attracted to her now, actually, because of this movie. Honestly.
So one thing, how about something that bothered me about the film?
Yeah, please.
Let's talk about that. It bothered me that it's, and I understand you're only given a certain amount of time for a film, and certain things are left on the cutting room floor, right? The old adage, left on the cutting room floor. This movie is just a snapshot. Listeners, you got to understand, this is just a snapshot. If you want like a biopic on Rodney Alcala, this isn't it, right? This isn't it.
Oh, and it's not trying to be either. Yeah.
Right, which I didn't know going in.
Right.
So if you're looking for something that covers everything about Rodney Alcala, all his crimes,
I would recommend documentaries.
This isn't it. Yeah. This isn't it. If you remember from our Dating Game Killer episode, we said that Alcala was an active serial killer from 1968 to 79. But the movie only really focuses on the years 1977 and especially 1978, the year Alcala and Cheryl Bradshaw met on the dating game.
100%.
So a lot of the story is missing from the movie. It skips a lot of his heinous crimes. For example, there's no mention of little Tali Shapiro, believed to be...
No, actually, it purposely skips all little girls.
Yeah, you're not going to see it.
Kind of just attacks on women.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Tali Shapiro, if you remember, that's believed to be his first victim.
His first real victim, even though we said, I think you said on the show that it was too practiced, like he's done this before, we just didn't know about it.
Right.
And we still don't know. Yeah.
Right. No mention of Tali Shapiro, his first victim, no mention of Robin Samso, his last victim. I just guess I found that just to be a little shocking because those two murders were the victims, the children, show how truly monstrous and depraved this subhuman fuck really was.
Yeah.
So that I guess was a little...
No, you're right. It isn't there. And the second time I saw it, which was today, in preparation for the show, I realized that's the first time I came to that realization that, like, wait, there were little girls involved too. And I was like, I did question, like, why wasn't it in the film? And of course, the answer is really easy. Is because it does detract. Well, first of all, I'm sure there are levels to what a monster can be or can do. You know, a bad person enough to call him a monster. And I think that Anna Kendrick was fine not making that distinction worse because he's a monster already. Well shown, in my opinion, because it opens with him murdering somebody, the movie.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, that was cool. Not cool, but like well shot, I mean. Anyway, and I think that putting in the children, you know, the little girls, would have detracted from the overall message of what's happening to women around this time period and in general. And I think it would distract too much from that. It would pull the focus away.
How about a blurb at the end? Because they had some writing, and I don't remember what exactly put up on screen. Maybe I should have screenshotted it or taken it.
It didn't mention the girls.
Anyway, but it didn't. Like, they could have put something in there to show the depravity this guy was willing to go to and kind of to honor those victims, too, I think, giving them that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about the honor thing. That's the one thing the movie doesn't particularly show. It does honor what it's showing. It's showing, and not to mention Cheryl and Amy, who is not the name of that person that actually escaped, but either way, that same victim. It does highlight them for sure, but it doesn't honor the other victims that are not shown. And you're right. Maybe that's something that is missing from the movie that I would say, yeah, it could have been cool to see that. Yeah. However, the movie, I think, encourages you more than anything to look this up on yourself too, because it really doesn't, I don't want to say care, that sounds callous, but it doesn't mind not having to show everything. And certainly cutting off those things was important for keeping the focus. This movie's a tight 90 minutes too, which is a really cool thing because a lot of movies are too long. And it was a welcome sight to see a 90-minute, freshly cut movie like this.
Yeah, and it kept you going the whole time.
Yeah, it kept you going. I think it would, like I said, it would have it would have kind of thrown the rhythm off if they showed too much of more things that we wanted.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's my opinion. Obviously, I don't know what she thinks, but
no, and you mentioned the first opening kill.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was interesting how Woman of the Hour opens with the murder of the last victim identified. So
really?
That's the murder of Christine Thornton, who Alcala killed in 1977 in Wyoming. And we talked about this at the very end of the last episode. She was pregnant. That was the pregnant one.
Oh, yes, I remember.
That was linked to Alcala much later in 2015. So he killed her in 77. She was identified in 2015.
Crazy.
And it happened through that trove of photos that were published online.
Yeah.
I left a link in the old episode.
I remember.
The last episode, so listeners go check that out. So that's how she was identified. Her sister identified her. So I just thought that was interesting. With the last person identified is what they opened the movie with.
That's cool. I don't know how intentional that is, but that's a nifty fact, actually. I did not pick that up at all. Yeah. But, yeah, go ahead.
Another thing I jotted here, just about victims and stuff, she doesn't get into blood and gore. This isn't a gory film.
Not at all.
This is gory and fucking blood.
What that opening does do, that's horrifying, because the movie is still horrifying.
Yes.
Is that it kind of shows how he, how he established dominance. That opening scene is all him establishing that dominance. You see him in the way he plays with her. He lets her realize what situation she's in before he attacks. He's fucking with her. Like it's like when you see a cat playing with the mouse before he eats it. It's exactly like that. Like he's making her, like he kind of like approaches her weirdly, and she's like what the hell, and she's trying to smile it away. Yeah. Like he's letting that linger to make her feel the dread and the horror instead of just attacking her, which could have been maybe give or take mercy if you just attack her.
Makes it worse, right?
Right, and
no
then
mercy.
Chokes her out. Wakes her up, like gives her CPR,
that's
and like that's the dominance he's asserting. That's what the opening's doing.
Yes, and that's his MO. I mean, that's right out of the crime annals.
It's horrifying, but they don't have to show gore. Is my point. They don't have to show the actual raping. They don't have to show. It's not Clockwork Orange, And
no singing in the rain.
Right. And it feels like it doesn't need it either.
Yeah. And it also kept their dignity, I think.
Also, that you're right. It's 100%. It does do that. I didn't think of that. You're right.
If my next bullet point here, Pete Holmes is in it.
Pete Holmes, yeah.
Cheryl's neighbor.
I love that.
So, I've met Pete Holmes, Dave Odd Black, who used to be on this podcast. He literally helped launch Pete Holmes' career. So at one of those comedy shows that Dave Black was given that Pete Holmes was at way back in the day, I got to meet him and shake his hand so I could say, I know him. What was his point? He's fucking hilarious.
Huh?
I think Pete Holmes is hilarious.
Oh, I love his last special. Last two specials are so funny. I love them.
When he talks about like molecules and shit.
Oh my God, so funny. You're right.
The face.
It's one of my favorite bits.
So I was like, oh, Pete Holmes. But what was his point? What was the point of his character? Why?
He's the friend zone component.
He wasn't friend zone because she slept with him.
She tried to friend zone him. Well, that's the point. That whole thing at the bar.
Let's talk about that because I didn't understand this. Why does she sleep with?
And even this, I may not have full grasp of because I don't know what it's like to be Anna Kendrick in that situation. But, they're buddies, right? And established so early on in the movie, she has no one else to talk to. He's kind of a lifeline. And on top of that, he is a man, ideally, that is safeguarding her. In public, anyway, when they hang out in bars and restaurants. Because she wouldn't go out otherwise.
Okay.
Not because she doesn't date, but because she doesn't date and she's kind of shy. She's new to this town. She's not from Hollywood, right?
And, of course, this is Cheryl Bradshaw.
Cheryl Bradshaw is my bad. Yeah. Anna Kendrick's character. I'm sorry. And so that's the establishing part. So when it becomes something where he hits on her and it becomes obvious, tries to kiss her, and she is both surprised and not interested.
Clearly not interested.
That's when she tries to friend zone him. And then his reaction of just staring into nothing, into the bar, kind of not like mad stance, but not disturbed, that's not the right word. He's bothered. Kind of look he does, like a classic, like a shame mixed with kind of like a little bit of anger and frustration for her denying him. That manly look. She relents and kind of sleeps with him to kind of get past it. But the worst part about that, and we find out, it's only shown at the end of the movie, is that the worst part about that is that he stops calling her. they don't hang out anymore. They don't see any more scenes with him. You don't see her talking on the phone with him anymore because that's all. That could be said that that's all he wanted, or he feels like he's not attracted to her anymore because he fucked her already.
I saw, I conquered.
Right, and no longer has any use of her, which is objectification. There's a lot of problems there with friend zoning and having sex with that kind of thing, and men get all really butthurt about it.
I mean, you said it right there. Objectification plays right into
this whole movie. Yes,
this whole movie and the dating
and that's
portion.
That's the kind of douchebag. He kind of reminds me of Bill, not Bill Burr. What's his name? That other comedian. I'm sorry. It's from Promising Young Woman. Have you seen that movie? Oh, man. It reminds me of that. There's another comedian, a famous comedian that plays like, not a schlubby friend zoned, but like the boyfriend, but kind of like, not a problem guy, but very close to a problem guy, And it reminds me of the same kind of character. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But that's who he is in the movie. He's that kind of guy.
So I didn't even pick up on the one and done aspect here, because you're right. But you're right, because you don't see him, you don't hear from him. We don't after they bang.
And that look they give when she's leaving and he's coming into his apartment, and that look of like shame and like awkwardness is displaying the fact that he was never trying to be her friend. He wanted to fuck her. And once he did, he stopped calling her.
Asshole.
That's what it's telling you. It's not saying it, but it's telling you that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. So, but Pete Holmes picked up on Pete
There's
Holmes.
actually no guy here that helps in the entire movie.
Yeah, no. They do mention in an exchange between Anna Kendrick and Pete Holmes, between Cheryl Bradshaw and Pete Holmes' character. I got to stop doing that, too.
That's okay.
They mention a director firing a gun on set. Do you remember this?
No, I
She's like, I
forgot that
bit. One of them said, we had to leave set because a director fired a gun. And for the life of me, I swore I remember hearing a story about Stanley Kubrick firing a gun on set to startle an actor or actress to get the reaction he wanted.
That sounds like him.
But man, I researched that high and low, and I couldn't find a reference to Kubrick firing a gun. But I know that's ripped right out of some Hollywood story.
Yeah, I wonder. So, and Anna Kendrick being in Hollywood for over 10, 20 years now, maybe it's something that she did here through the grapevine of people she knows in Hollywood, and maybe put that in the story for funsies.
Could be.
Or it's a combination of things, like it's not an accident that the movie mentions that story and mentions, above all, Roman Polanski in the movie, because he's also well known.
Maybe it was Polanski. I didn't even think to look.
Well, I don't know if it was Polanski that shot the thing, but I know that mentioning him in this movie, in this kind of movie about men taking advantage of women, is exactly why Roman Polanski is not allowed in this country anymore. Right. Like there's a right. Because Alcala mentions it to him, to that stewardess that he breaks into, the apartment thing, mentions it to her. And apparently it was true that he did a class with them.
That's
supposedly.
what they say.
Yeah, that's what they say. And he talks about Repulsion, like being one of those movies. Talk about Rosemary's Baby. But Repulsion, famously, it's a great movie. I love that movie. It's a great psychological thriller about a woman going insane because of trauma happened from her father.
Oh.
So, yeah. So there's very neat connections here.
Wow, you're right. I didn't. Very astute.
I love that movie, Repulsion.
Daniel Zovato. That's who plays Rodney Alcala.
Yeah.
That's the guy's name.
What did you think of his performance?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
Especially the parking lot scene, which we'll get into. I mean, fucking terrifying. That could have been Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
Eliciting the same visceral feel
to her
that
it is.
Jason Voorhees gives
to her it is,
to us moviegoers. Yeah.
This is the reason why women don't go out at night alone.
Yeah. Just really quickly, I looked up Zovato. He was in The Pope's Exorcist, which we actually talked about in our exorcism episodes.
That's right.
There's a little connection there. He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Station 11, something called Revenge.
Oh my God, you just reminded me. Station 11, I love that miniseries.
Yeah, I forgot
he was in it. He was the crazy cult leader terrorist guy. Oh, that's so cool. I forgot. He was good in that.
Really?
Yeah, I just forgot him. It's
so
just completely out of my head.
Some pretty big things.
That's crazy. All right.
So something that I wrote down here that was a big plot point in the movie, and I'm still getting kind of my general thoughts and facts section. Pretty big plot point in the movie that didn't happen in real life has to do with that woman named Laura. Now, she's the one that goes to the live taping of the dating game, and she actually sees Alcala.
Yeah.
Then she proceeds to have this panic attack, and she storms out. She knocks over a camera or whatever it was.
Yeah.
We then see a flashback of Laura and her friend Allison encountering Alcala on a beach, Then it flashes to the next day, and Allison is found murdered.
Yes.
Right? The movie really leans into this whole Laura thing,
and also jumps time, with these flashbacks and stuff.
It does,
yeah.
But any of that stuff with Laura never happened.
Right.
I read that Anna Kendrick used that character of Laura as a stand-in, like a composite, for all the people who tried to report Alcala over the years.
Yes.
And shit happened. Nothing happened. Right?
That's exactly.
Because that girl Laura, she goes to that. She wants to talk to a security guard,
and then goes to the police later on.
Yeah, but then like one of the producers or whatever, oh yeah, I'll give you to the security guard, and he gives her to the fucking janitor.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it gives her like a nothing
to a nobody.
Yeah, to a nobody.
No one who can help.
No.
So that never happened.
Yeah.
But man, it was a fucking cool scene.
Right. And you equal parts in that scene, which is very hard to watch, kind of cringy thing when she's talking to the security guard. I was a little frustrated, and I think you're supposed to feel frustrated too, especially maybe if you're a guy. I'm not sure. Frustrated by the way she's kind of coming across. I'm like, just tell him that you need to call the police. Be more direct.
Oh my God! Right? Why are you beating around the bush?
But she is having a traumatic reaction to seeing him, and it's like going through her and filtering through her. These are very emotional, kind of like frail, frustrating, like panic attack she was having, So like this is the best she could do. The fact that she could be up there talking to the security guard alone is already kind of a feat in itself. And that's what you're supposed to think about too, because yes, I was also frustrated. Like, dude, just tell him there's a killer there. Give the description to the police. We need to call them now because he's here right now. And she doesn't say it that way, of course. Doesn't come across that way. Not that it's her fault that she gets pranked on, but it sucks.
Yeah.
But that frustration / equal parts. Yeah, it must be what she's feeling, going through, and emotionally. It's hard for her to even say anything.
Yeah, you're right.
So, love to hate that scene. I hate to love that scene. That's one of those kind of things.
Well, the other thing, that whole Laura scene with her friend Allison being found murdered. They met him on a beach, right? They show the two women meeting Alcala on the beach. Of course, the beach is where Alcala met Robin Samso and Wolvert, the other girl. Samso's friend's last name was Wolvert. I believe she's
so like Laura's like the Wolvert version.
She gave the sketch.
Yeah,
she gave the sketch of Alcala. So that kind of ties in. There's a little
the beat, not in name, but it's in
scene.
In facts.
Yes,
kind of like it uses the facts, right, but not the same characters.
Yes.
Yeah. I get it.
They showed him working as a photographer for a newspaper.
Yes, they do.
This is kind of true.
Okay.
He did work for the L.A. Times in 1979, but as a typesetter, not a photographer.
Yeah.
He would arrange...
He also looked like he was just showing off his photos more than like pitching, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't official. It wasn't a meeting, it wasn't an editorial meeting.
No.
So like it could be anything. He could have been typesetting and just showing off.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a typesetter, not a photographer. Nothing cool like a photographer.
Right.
He would just lay shit out on a page.
Right. I also like how he's like, oh yeah, I got paid $500 for that. She got paid for that picture. Like someone paid you to, like, it's like they don't even believe him a little bit. Like
they do. I think he's a punchline on this.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
The dating game.
We're getting to the game, okay?
Do you want to get to
the most fictionalized part of the whole movie?
It is pretty fictionalized.
Because of Laura, but also because of what doesn't happen in real life.
Right. So,
right.
Yeah, right.
Or didn't happen. Yeah.
Laura, we said, went to go see it as an audience member.
Right.
Freaked out. Never happened.
Right.
The host, Ed Burke, was his name in the movie. In real life, he was Jim Lang. And he's portrayed as this sleazy, gross chauvinist.
They could have changed the name because they maybe his
family or something
didn't want to give the right. Didn't want to give the rights. Yeah,
because he did a lot of game shows back then.
I'm sure
in the 70s.
Yeah, he looked like a pro.
So yeah, he's this gross, just kind of sleazy guy. He tells Cheryl Bradshaw as this contestant, right, the woman, to look dumb and ditzy.
Yeah,
that's what he tells her. Look dumb and ditzy. He tells her not to laugh. I'm sorry, he tells her to laugh a lot.
Yeah, smile and laugh a lot. Also, like,
and don't
get a
look
low-cut
too
dress.
Smart. He tells her don't appear to be too smart.
Yeah.
And he makes her wear that really revealing dress.
And he's like, men are babies, right? And I love how fucking Cheryl takes that back to him. When he says later on, right? Yes, I love that so much. That was so well timed.
Yeah, listener, she flips this.
It was so good.
She was being cued by this sleazy show host to be dumb, giggle. You know, her tits are hanging out of her dress almost.
Be a vacuous, objectified person. That's it.
Yeah,
not even a person. Right?
Vapid, nonsense.
Yeah.
But she flips that script, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, the way Burke is behaving, the way he treats her, it's really, I think, indicative of how Hollywood thinks about women and how Alcala thinks about them, too. It's like Alcala, Ed Burke, and Hollywood itself are the same sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Then and now, like you said earlier.
I mean, no way it's not happening still. I mean, we
hear about it.
We have a lot of political upheaval about that. I mean, recently the most famous horrible thing I've been hearing about people that are objectified women and are kind of used to it and like it. They say, "Your body, my choice," right? That's like the latest thing.
Fuck yeah,
so awful. Awful. I was mad. I'm so glad they burned this house down. Like I said,
it's horrifying. And then you got your Weinsteins, your Diddy parties. Yeah, of course.
Right.
The Hames, Corey. And
so yeah, it doesn't stop. It's better for sure, but it doesn't stop. It's definitely better. The more aware is always better. But like we gotta get past awareness and find solutions now. And
a bullet is a fucking.
But I would say that it's. Well, I do agree with what you were saying about the Hollywood and Alcala being part of the same coin. I would say replace Hollywood with men in general because of the. I'm not saying everyone. Of course, not everybody. Of course, but definitely. This movie does such a great and delicate job of showing you different types of men, both well-meaning and not, and the variations of how that could affect negatively for a woman, not just on her day-to-day, but to something serious like this. Like Laura's boyfriend, a well-meaning guy, he comes back the next day and apologizes with roses, probably understands, took her to the police station,
Isn't that what it
but
was?
it took him a night.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The first pass of ignorance, the first mistake he did was maybe too much already. It was enough to make Alcala leave and not get caught that day. You know what I'm saying? Like it really affected things. Wow. Like he was well-meaning. He was probably the best guy in the movie, and he still fucked up.
Good point.
Right. And he didn't believe his girlfriend. He just didn't believe her. Did not trust what she was feeling.
That's really.
Again, he came back. I kind of like the guy still, you know. But like he came back, he apologized, he understood it, but it took him a day, you know, and that sucked. And he was the best. So there were others, you know, so many variations. Like we talked about that comedian guy. We talked about the host who was like
garbage,
unashamedly an asshole, right? But an asshole, he probably wouldn't. Well, no, I don't know what he'd do actually.
That's why. Well, that's why it was so great to see Cheryl flip the script, the character of Cheryl, because this didn't happen in real life,
right?
But in the movie, Cheryl flipped that script, and she became this empowered, sarcastic, intelligent contestant.
Yeah.
The exact opposite of what the host, Ed Burke, wanted her to be, which pissed off the host. And even, I don't know if you caught it, but he calls her a cunt.
He does, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, no, you didn't, you know. The whole segment where Cheryl flips that script and really goes after the contestants.
They were good questions, too.
And the host, oh, yeah. But again, in real life, that did not happen. She followed the script in real life.
Yeah.
She played the ditzy blonde on the show. Now, in an article I read, Anna Kendrick said this scene was a chance to flip the sexist culture of the dating game, as well as the country in the 70s, on its head, and give the power to the women for a change, even if it was just for a brief moment in time.
Yeah, and it worked. And it was aired.
It did work. It was very satisfying to watch.
It was very satisfying. I love the hairdressers also being really satisfied by her and telling her to...
Go, girl.
Well, telling her, you know, not knowing who he is, but to pick number 3, you know, pick the third contestant. You know, she was so happy for her, and they were all happy for her.
That's
and
right.
Giving her advice, you know, the best line of that movie, give or take, at least the line that's more blatantly obvious as to what the movie's trying to say about women and what's going on with that, is that hairdresser, the older lady, comes up to do a quick checkup on her makeup and hair and says, remember, girl, I don't know how exactly she says it, but she's like, remember, like, we're here to find out the one answer to the question is that which one of you will hurt me, right? That's what she says.
That's right.
That's the whole point of the movie. It's like, that's where the movie spelled out.
Which one of you will hurt me?
Right. It's not like, which one of you will love me? No, which one of you will hurt me? And that's right. What you have, and that's what she kind of reminds Anna Kendrick. This is right before she flips the script, I think. Reminds Anna Kendrick what... It's not what it's about, but it's what they have to do, right? Love is secondary to their safety, which is why women kind of seek safety more, security, right? You think of security and dating and stuff. That's why it's number one to them, and she just says it to her like that, and that's kind of like the whole point of the movie. Mm-hmm.
Great. Did it piss you off that Rodney Alcala was number 3?
No.
Bachelor number 3 instead of Bachelor number 1?
I love that even more.
So, and I want to get into it because you told me about this off mic and it was fantastic. It drove me fucking crazy. I'm like, oh my God, did I get it wrong in the podcast?
Right.
I fucked up in the podcast.
Right.
How could this be? Anna Kendrick wouldn't steer us wrong.
Bananas are
He's
first.
number 1. He's fucking number 1.
Right.
Bananas. Yeah.
Right.
Peel me. Ugh, sick fuck.
I know.
I'm like, but and I even went back and watched the clip from the actual show. I'm like, oh, okay, he was number 1. So yeah, he was number 3. Not a big deal. But for you, Oscar, you had something very intelligent about why it was number 3. Why him being number 3 was best.
He's number 3 because it's a ramp up. So contestant number 1, 2, and 3, the 3 guys, are different variations of either, you could say toxic masculinity, but you could say masculinity in general that does not adhere to what women need or want in their vicinity. But whatever, you call it whatever you want. But the first contestant, Bachelor number 1, who is arguably the worst. He answers the worst. He's kind of a dumb, ditzy guy. His biggest problem is that he's just ignorant. Not saying that he would rape or murder any woman, but, probably doesn't understand what's happening. Contestant number 2 is the douchebag guy. He's the kind of guy that if he were rich, he would have a red Ferrari kind of guy.
Yeah, he's a puke.
I mean,
sure.
when they mention his hobbies, golf is one of them. So, already immediately, golf was one of them.
I almost had a 109 proof whiskey coming out of my nose.
Right into the mics, right. And he is the douchebag kind of guy, the promising young woman douchebag. I know you haven't seen the movie, but people who have know what I'm saying. And he's like the jock bro kind of shitty asshole who would fucking...
He would date rape.
He would date rape. He would objectify. He would not be okay with if he sees a passed out girl in a bedroom somewhere, kind of thing.
Right.
He's that douchebag who says douchebag things. Arguably the most outwardly hateable character out of the 3 contestants. And then number 3 is the worst, who we know is Rodney Alcala, but he's the ramp up. He's the third place guy because he is much more charming. He is much more practiced because he wants to kill, because he's the ultimate version of what every woman fears, not because he's an amazing man. It's because the opposite. He's playing.
I did not. I love it. Never picked up on it. I was just pissed that it was wrong.
Right.
Very good.
Yeah.
The progression of insanity. Man.
Yeah, right. The wrong type of guy. Right.
So let's talk about those guys.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those guys in real life because, I love my details. I had to look up these
you
contestants,
did. That's
right?
Yeah.
So now in the movie, Josh Young and Arnie Aslan were Alka's rival contestants, with Josh Young being Bachelor number 1 and Arnie Aslan, the chauvinistic, pukey, rapey Bachelor number 2. And it's Aslan, Bachelor number 2, that quietly warned Cheryl Bradshaw to be in the movie to be careful with Alcala. Do you
Might be
remember
his
that?
best contribution ever.
So
his
the pukiest
hatred
guy
for this
besides-
guy accidentally helps her.
Yes.
Yes.
So but now in real life, a man named Jedediah Mills was Bachelor number 2, and Armand Sarami was Bachelor number 3. Now it's unknown if Bachelor number 2, Jed Mills, actually whispered a warning to Cheryl Bradshaw, like Bachelor number 2 did in the movie.
Right.
Most likely that didn't happen.
Right, most likely not.
But later, Mills said Alcala absolutely said off mic, "I always get the girl." Just like in the movie.
Dude.
Which, again, just chilling considering what Alcala did, right?
Yes.
Mills also commented that Alcala was, quote, creepy, very creepy, and that he could not stand to be near Rodney Alcala when they were taping the show.
Really?
And I had to know what these guys were up to today.
Oh, okay.
This is
All
my
right.
OCD kicking. And turns out Armand Sarami, Bachelor number 3 in the movie, wound up having a career in movies in the late 70s into the early 80s.
That's cool.
His acting debut was in a movie called The Kentucky Fried Movie
All right.
in 1977. And I feel like
By
I've
Colonel
heard
Sanders?
of that. Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like I've heard of this
I don't know.
for some reason. He was an extra.
Okay.
He also did a show called Switch in 1978. He was in The Blues Brothers in 1980.
Oh, cool.
And he was in a great sci-fi television show called V back in 84.
Oh, I've
And I
seen
love
V.
Yes.
That's a cool sci-fi show.
Absolutely.
They remade V.
Did they really?
Oh, I mean, it's now old. It's almost 20 years ago now.
Oh, Jesus.
But still, yeah, they made V. I really liked it. I don't remember how it ended.
Bro, I remember V like it was yesterday.
It was cool.
When they pulled the face off for the very first time and revealed the reptilian underneath, I still remember that to this day.
I think that's
my son's age.
Is that the nexus of all the horror, reptilian horror? Like, is that where it comes from V?
I don't know. But I'll never forget it.
Right, yeah.
He was also in Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury.
Dude, back then everyone was in Murder, She Wrote. I think I was in there too.
And that was 86 to 88, 1986, 98. And since then, it looks like he's just kind of enjoying a quiet life in Ontario, California.
Cool.
Yeah. As for Jed Mills, he too got himself a career in Hollywood. He was in Cagney and Lacey.
Oh, shit.
He was in Twin Peaks, which he played a character named Wilson Mooney, a parole officer. We talked about Twin Peaks a few times.
I've been rewatching it lately, so yeah, it's kind of fresh.
So watch for William Mooney. He's a parole officer. He was in Casino, where he played a character named Jack Hardy, a safecracker and a member of Joe Pesci's Hole-in-the-Wall gang.
That's cool.
He was in Cock and Bull Story in 2002, The Magic Marker in 2016, and I Think I Need a Drink in 2017. And as far as I could tell, he's still in the industry, only now he's a casting director.
That's cool. Yeah. Probably like not cheaper. Sorry, easier to live with that than he's trying to be an actor all the time.
So that's what happened to those guys in real life.
That's cool. It kind of reminds me. Actually, kind of reminds me a little bit of Cheryl Bradshaw's character in the movie and maybe real life. Struggling actors trying to get out there, and so her being seen on TV with the dating game. It makes sense that also possibly some of the contestants who are also want to be actors and want to get seen on TV too.
100%.
So that makes more sense now you tell me all this backstory. That's kind of cool.
I see.
So they're their own Cheryl Bradshaw trying to make it big in Hollywood as well. They're not there to date someone. They're just there or to have fun.
For the exposure.
They're there to be seen. They're there to get more agent calls and shit and auditions.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
And for these guys, it looks like it worked.
Yeah, it looks like it worked for a while. Hopefully they're satisfied with their life. Yeah.
Now, how about this scene? Tell me what you thought of this. Now, we all know Cheryl Bradshaw, she ultimately chooses Alcala as her winner.
Correct.
Right?
I mean, he gives the best answers in the movie and in the real life, so.
Yeah. So after Cheryl...
I would date him. I would pick him,
I'd fuck him.
Yeah.
After Cheryl chooses Alcala in the movie as her winner, they go for a drink together in this tiki bar. Mm-hmm. And that's when suddenly this conversation that they're in turns really awkward. And Cheryl realizes this is exactly the situation she doesn't want to be in.
Right. And he says a lot of right things. They both know the same plays and shit. He's kind of introspective of what they're reading and talking about, which means that, was it? Watch out. And just because someone knows what you know doesn't mean,
Oh, right. Yeah. Exactly. There's more to a relationship than these surface sort of very
not even that. They could be
completely
awesome at it. They could be philosophers. It doesn't mean that they're good people, It just doesn't mean the same thing.
Right. But it's during this conversation that she realizes, wait a minute, something's wrong.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's when Alcala tries to order more drinks.
Yeah.
And push more drinks on her. And Cheryl, she gives that elderly waitress, that cocktail waitress, this look and this very slight head shake.
Yeah.
No. And the waitress instantly understands.
It's like saying, I want an angel shot today.
Right.
That's exactly. That's the version of that.
Exactly.
But not really, because she doesn't call the cops.
It's a quiet call for help.
Right. But she doesn't call it for help. But she basically says, oh, no, it's the last call,
But exactly. Right. So the waitress picks up on it, and the drinks never come.
Yes, the other thing about this movie is that all the women in this movie are trying to help out other women. Also, every character.
Yeah.
In this movie. Mm-hmm.
And that's when the two leave the bar.
Right.
So in reality, right, so that was in the movie.
Yeah.
Very intense. Good scene. The older waitress looking out for the younger girl, But in reality, it's unlikely. Bradshaw and
100%
went out for a drink.
I don't think it happened at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Most reports, maybe you've seen this too, doing your research, say that Cheryl's turnoff of Alcala happened literally backstage immediately after the show.
Right.
Cheryl told the show's contestant handler, a woman named Ellen Metzger, quote, There's weird vibes that are coming off him. He's very strange. I'm not comfortable. Is that going to be a problem? End quote. And Metzger said, of course it's not a problem. So Cheryl chose to never go on that date with Alcala.
Right. It'd be another thing if the show depended on some sort of comeback, how was the date, But no. Right? No one gives a shit after the show.
Yeah, so I mean, it's those flawless instincts that saved her life.
100%.
So I mean, then to take that a step further into the metaphysical or the paranormal, vibes, man. People picking up on vibes, the energy.
It's a real thing, you know. It's a real thing.
Fuck
it's a real thing. It doesn't always work all the time. It's not like a scientifically provable thing, but it is a thing. We've all done it. We've all experienced this in one way or another. Hopefully, you haven't been the person creeping somebody out, but sometimes that happens.
You creepy fuck.
We talked about that one time, many shows ago, not many years ago, but definitely more than a year ago. Talked about that one time where I was walking late at night, 2, 3 in the morning, and this girl was walking in front of me, happens to be walking in front of me, kind of drunk, and was very wary of me and was like walking faster, like worried of me. I was potential Alcala to her. And I understood it completely, but I was going in the same direction as she was, so it's not like I was going to stop either, so I started slowing down a bit and trying to help her out by not talking to her, not approaching her, of course, because that would make it worse. That's, that's part of it. So we've all been there. We've all been in people's grips too. It happens.
Absolutely.
Right? Even if you're not going to do anything, it can happen.
Yep. Go with your gut instinct.
I love that dinner scene though, because there's this moment before the whole waitress bit where she last call is he kind of leads her into this where he could have just kept charming her, Rodney, and instead kind of lets the conversation die. He lets it die. And he's like, what I felt in that scene is that he was kind of being brazen. I think he was trying to see how far he can take this without having to do a lot of lies maybe or play it up or anything.
Like how far he could fuck with her?
I think, yeah. Well, first of all, we both know from the opening of the movie alone that he fucks with his victims, right? Yes. Fucks with them the way a cat fucks with a mouse. And I think that he's doing it so early on, like in the courting phase of this killing that he wants to do, that he's doing it in public now. Like, he is that brazen from 68 to 78, and he's that brazen about it. And that's definitely part of his downfall for sure, because the fact that he's on a dating game, like high exposure for a serial killer, should never do that. He's a fucking moron. We talked about it. Talked about it in the show already. But that scene, I think it also exemplifies that brazenness and how he's just being way too cocky. And even though he might have thought, like, no matter what, she's not getting out of here. The second she gets out of this restaurant, I'm having her. Yeah. But obviously too public still, and obviously those guys coming out of the studio saved their life too. But yeah, I mean, just he put himself out too far out as a killer. He showed his true colors too early because he's such a cocky motherfucker that he got away with it so far. And,
yes, yes. Well, let's go on that. So he's cocky. He freaks her out. He pushes that envelope enough. They leave the store. They leave the tiki bar, and now they're. Anna Kendrick, the Cheryl Bradshaw character, is properly frightened of him. They leave the bar. He asks for her phone number. And this starts real intense.
Yeah,
scene.
That's some real... Oh, when he's like, what was the number?
Could you repeat that number back to me? And she's like, fuck, bro.
Right, he gave her a fake number.
She completely just freestyled
Sometimes
it.
4s and 9s look the same. Like, wow, what a slippery motherfucker.
That's right.
Dude, the way he said that.
So she gives him this fake number. She cannot repeat it back to him. We know shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
So we think she's going to get away, but she turns to walk back to her car in this huge, dimly lit parking lot, right?
Yeah.
And, she stammers. She can't remember the number. Alcala knows he's been duped. He knows he's been duped. She fucked him over. She's onto him, which leads to that really scary chase scene. And it's not really a chase scene. It reminded me so much of Jason Voorhees. You know, just slowly, this unstoppable monster just doesn't need to run, doesn't need to chase after you.
Well, also, I think
he's gonna get you.
He wants to limit the window between her screaming as much as possible. So if he started running, she starts screaming. So while she can think that she can still escape to her car and not scream, it's probably a positive for him. I think that's what he's doing.
Very intense.
Right.
Very intense.
Very intense.
She does make it. She gets back to her car. Very effective. Very effective. For Cheryl Bradshaw, I know I feel like I'm jumping around a little bit, but
you're fine.
The real Cheryl Bradshaw died in 2004.
Okay.
I believe in Avondale, Arizona, because she was a communication teacher at a community college there in Avondale. So we're going to say
I live in Avondale in Chicago. That's funny.
Do you really? Yeah. That's your street?
No, the town, the little burb. It's not It's not street.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes, got it. So she died in 2004, Avondale. She was a communication teacher at community college. There's no record of her. There's no record of her being an aspiring actress or a foot masseuse, as said on
That's
the show.
so funny. Yeah, he does say it both in the movie and in the real life. Yeah.
That she was
That's so funny.
Yep. Because she got fired because she was moving up.
They're just making shit up, dude. Everyone's making shit up all the time. Yeah.
So, no aspiring actress. I think this was a one-off thing for her.
Yeah.
And she definitely, probably, most likely, was not a masseuse.
Right, it was more of a experience kind of thing than it was a way to get into Hollywood.
Yeah. Victims, it's kind of my next section. Do you have anything else as far as a dating game?
I mean, I have a lot in general that I wrote down.
Yeah, go for it.
They don't really fit anything necessarily. Talk about the dating game killer, like the name of the serial killer for Rodney Alcala. Not every serial killer, but most serial killers have a name to them.
Kitschy little names.
Yeah. You think of Zodiac.
Robbers, robbers are the same way.
Son of Sam. Right. A lot of things like that. We give names to them. That kind of gives them a little bit of power. I wrote this little sentence. I don't know. I'm see if it makes sense to you. The title of Dating Game Killer is definitely more of a fun misnomer for Alcala, especially considering that he didn't actually kill Cheryl Bradshaw. But the movie oddly makes that title fit the killer more by the way it highlights societal issues between men and women as the bedrock, and that while Alcala is the extreme version, that smaller versions of treating women badly goes unchecked all the time. So I don't know. So I like that. Kind of like the movie makes the Dating Game Killer name for the actual Rodney Alcala kind of more, gives it more weight. And I don't know if that's a positive thing or a negative thing, but it's a thing. I was thinking about that earlier today. Yeah. So I thought of that. Yeah. I definitely want to talk about the end of the movie, though, which I think comes to the victims. So we can just combine it there.
Sure. So we kind of opened with this. We opened the show with the opening kill.
Right.
That was Christine Thornton, the last one identified. Alcala killed her in Wyoming in 1977. We talked about her in the last episode. She was 6 months pregnant at the time of her death. Her boyfriend, I guess... So Christine was telling Alcala her story, and I guess the story pretty much checks out. Her and her boyfriend wanted to get out and see the country, kind of have this last big adventure before the baby came. Mm-hmm. So somehow Christine and her boyfriend get separated. It's kind of alluded to in the stories that I've read that her boyfriend was abusive, might have been abusive, with physically, mentally, verbally, whatever it was. He was abusive.
And he still left her, apparently.
Yeah, he left her, and somehow, or she left him, likely, and somehow fate brought Alcala and Christine together. We're not really sure how that happened, but ultimately Alcala takes some photos of Christine as she's telling him her story, and then he kills her.
In the movie or in real life?
In the movie.
I know in the movie. I mean,
Sorry.
yes, okay.
And the movie shows Alcala's M.O. I think this is the whole thing I wanted to get to here, is that that's his M.O., and you mentioned it earlier, how he strangles her. Thornton, the woman's name again is Thornton, he revives her, he does it again, just that power trip, just ultimate control. Just really depraved shit. So I just mentioned that. I wanted to get a little bit more into that person.
Yeah, no, that's I think I said everything I wanted to say about the opening already. We can move on to the next one.
Okay. Kind of how I mentioned earlier that I wish, even in a blurb at the end of the movie, how Robin Samso and Tali Shapiro were mentioned.
Yeah.
I also wish they mentioned in a blurb somehow that his photos are still out there. And you could see them, and viewing the photos are solving crimes, just like Christine Thornton's
You're
murder.
right about that. Now, I guess I'd forgotten that little aspect from the episode, from our review, or not review. I'm sorry, our last episode. And you're right. That makes it doesn't fit. That it's not in the movie.
I just think
considering how delicate it
opportunity.
handles everything else.
Yes.
That and no way they don't know about it. I feel like there's no way they don't know. You know?
No, I agree.
Right. So yeah, you're right. It is a misstep on that part.
Let's see, what else do I have here? So Amy is the name of the woman Alcala beats at that apartment complex as she's sitting on the ground, kind of looking destitute. I think she was under the stairs or something.
I thought it was a motel, but you're right. Maybe it wasn't.
It was a motel.
Maybe
something apartment building motel. The girl that Alcala rapes in the desert.
Yes.
Right? Now Amy isn't real, but she represents the actual Alcala victim named Monique Hoyt.
Yes.
Now, Nhyte was a 15-year-old runaway that crossed paths with Alcala in 1979. And just like in the movie, Alcala drove Nhyte to the desert and he raped her. And she did thankfully escape by lulling Alcala into this false sense of security.
Yes.
Just like Amy did in the movie.
Honestly, she's my favorite character for what she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unlike in the movie, which shows Amy calling the cops and Alcala getting arrested, in reality, what really happened is Nhyte did get to call the police, but when they arrived, Alcala was long gone.
Right.
And he went on to kill more women.
Right.
Now, ultimately, I found out that Monique Nhyte, she came back around to Alcala in the 2010s, in 2010, I think it was, to testify about what a piece of shit he was. And her testimony did help to get him convicted to death for the final time.
That's great.
So that's cool.
Yeah, I think the movie does mention that, doesn't it? At the end. That's one of the blurbs.
I think it does.
That is one
Yes,
of the
it
blurbs.
does. Now, Amy's played, I thought this was cool, by a woman named Autumn Best from Chicago. She was popular for being in a CW series called 4400. And she has what's called a limb difference, being born with just a thumb on her left hand. Didn't even catch that in the film.
Well, no, you wouldn't.
So I don't know if they hit it or I just...
No, it's just quick. It's just too quick, and they don't do a close-up of the hands either, so you don't know.
True. Not that it's any... I mean...
No, it's not a big deal.
Yep, just thought it was interesting.
I love her performance in this movie.
She was good.
She was so good.
She was very good. What she had to go through, oh my God.
Right, and that's another thing is that's the other one. I was like, man, I know situations like this, and that, obviously I know them in a microcosm, much less dangerous ways. But I know it, like I know exactly what she's trying to do and how it works and succeeds. Like you think of Men Are Babies, kind of what was said earlier in the movie, and we kind of made fun of. The movie makes fun of it. It's like that's how she's treating this situation. Like she is trying to detach herself, and the way she does it in that moment, maybe because of her potential abuses, that makes her a runaway to begin with. Maybe she's kind of trained for it in a weird way, right? That she knew what to do instead of screaming and biting her head up or trying to fight back and whatever. The rape happens. He's crying because murder is horrible and traumatic, even for the murderer sometimes. It does happen. You shouldn't do it, for sure, but there it is. And her reaction is to placate him, like you would a bear in the woods that you come across, like a beast that's way bigger than you are. Like you don't immediately run away. You stare down, you placate, you say, hey, buddy, how are you? That's what she's doing. That is exactly what she's doing in that scene. And I love how she gets away because
it works.
It works.
He's that dumb.
It is so cool.
Smart as he is,
he is still a man.
He was smart.
That's the point. A man with these urges and ambitions and impulses that is driving him.
That's right.
No matter how genius he was, doesn't matter. Right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's a really, it's a horrifying scene, but it's really cool. Yeah, I love that scene.
Good.
And they build her up too along the movie. It's not like they sprinkle her in throughout the movie. It's not just one scene with her. She's basically another major character in the movie. She's like a solid supporting number 2.
Sure.
And because she's shown throughout, and it's a build up to the ending. It's cool.
Yeah. Good. I also read that she was a barista in Chicago.
Word.
I didn't catch it where.
Huh?
I didn't catch where.
I said word.
Oh, word. Palabra. Got it. Yeah. So there we go. And I guess my final was we see another one of his victims, a flight attendant named Charlie in the movie.
Yes, the apartment one.
That's the one. Yes, that's the one who asked Alcala to help her move furniture to her upstairs apartment. He helps her, but then he turns creepy, which alarms Charlie. But by then it's too late. Alcala attacks her, and he strangles her with the scarf.
Yeah.
Now, in real life, there wasn't a Charlie, but there was a Cornelia Criley, the TWA flight attendant Alcala murdered in her Upper East Side apartment in New York in 1971. This is definitely what Charlie the scene refers to, although Alcala strangled Cornelia with her own pantyhose, not a scarf, as depicted in the movie.
Right. Okay.
And that's my notes.
Okay.
So again, there were only a certain amount of victims.
Yeah.
This was just a snapshot.
Yes.
So,
that's honestly, in my opinion, in general, when you think of biopics or musical biopics, especially being a bigger one, you think of movies like Queen or whatever. It's always been my opinion, at least lately, that a good version of a biopic if you have to do it, because I hate them all almost. I hate most. Is that do a snapshot of that person's life, because it's impossible to cover the whole thing. You can't you can't cover it. You're not a history book. What are you doing?
You're right.
You know, if it was a series, sure, right, go nuts. But no, it's a movie. Do a snapshot. Do 2 weeks of this crazy part of their life. You know, whatever. And it's usually a better fit. So I'm not saying that's what this movie does. It does jump around in time a lot. So it's not like it's not exactly one day in the life of Rodney Alcala, but it is a snapshot. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I do have a few more things that I wrote down.
Please.
The movie blends real life and sensationalism to tell a compelling story that equal parts hates Alcala and shows who he really was without making him seem cool.
Yeah.
It uses the sensational parts of the real life, the killer name, the smarts, and sexy women in photos to highlight the horror running in parallel. I wrote that bit. And this thing at the end here I wrote, ultimately, serial killer movies almost always seem to add nothing to society other than rekindling the infamy of the killers, which is sensationalized to the point of farce. But this movie serves that dish with one of the core issues that women have to face in less dangerous terms, but potentially the same potency as meeting a killer. The movie highlights victims as strongly as the killer with Cheryl, as the sensational, and a woman's voice part as Amy, as the victim that shows true survival instincts. The part of the movie that's true survival instinct, sorry. Movie doesn't care about Rodney's family or genius. It instead shows how you only have to be a man to potentially hurt anyone you want, smart or dumb, because of how women are dismissed and objectified.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's roughly what I had.
Great. No, good. Final verdict. Go see the movie.
Yes, we spoiled it. If you listen to this far and you haven't seen the movie, and we spoiled the shit out of it in detail.
We fucked it up.
So, but still, we'll go watch the movie. I rewatched it today, and it's a movie I could easily rewatch.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
It's that good, and you can see a lot from it, and it's not because I enjoy serial killers. And quite the opposite.
It is on the Netflix.
Oh, yes. We never mentioned that. It is on Netflix.
Netflix. Mm-hmm. So if you have Netflix, watch that.
Mm-hmm. And, highly recommend.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, please. Let us know.
contact@chicagoghostpodcast.com. Let us know what you think of the movie. Were we on point with our spoiler, our synopsis, our analysis? There you go, analysis. Or are we way off base? Let us know your feelings, and we'll mention them on the show the next time.
Yeah.
Listen, support the podcast by buying some merch. ChicagoGhostPodcast.com. Click on the merch button. Free shipping anywhere in the United States on orders of $25 or more.
Even Hawaii.
It's Christmas time.
What about Guam?
Buy your families
United
and
States
friends.
owns that, doesn't it?
Buy your families and friends some cool shit. With that, Oscar, are we taking them home? Are you taking us home? Are we going home?
Right now I am.
I'm home.
Let's do it.